Hello, my name's Stephanie Weightman and I'm going to show you a few little tips on how to make the most of using these really intricate dies and why a metal shim can make the difference. Yours will come completely flat when you first get it, but through the process of passing it through the machine, it will actually distort. But the one thing that won't change is the thickness of the metal. And that's the reason that we're going to be using it. Because as our plates get worn, and you can see that mine's starting to just lose its flatness, what happens is that they just get very, very slightly stretched. This adds a little bit of stability. So when we're using particularly detailed dies, the metal shim can make all the difference. So I've got a piece of cardstock, my base plate, and I'm going to tape my die down on here, just using some low tack tape just to stop it moving. Then I'm going to take my second plate and place it on top. And I'm going to work with the actual cutting surface towards the top so I can see what's happening. And I'm just going to pass this through my machine. Now the cracking you'll probably be familiar with because they do crack from time to time. And I think I may not have placed the plate completely on the actual base that I've got as I've passed it through, although it does appear to have cut. One thing I'm sure about is it won't have cut all the way through. So I'm going to take my metal shim and place that on top and pass this through. Now we've got a number of different options. We can pass it through a number of times. That's one of the things that we often do with our detailed dies. The other thing is we can turn the die actually on the cutting plate, and I'll show you how to do that as well in just a moment. So let me just feed this back in and we'll have a look at some of the other options. Paper shims also work, but the metal shim is particularly useful. So I'm just going to bring this out and lift off my top plate. Now I can see that although it is cut through quite well, it hasn't cut through completely. I'm just going to peel this back so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm going to take off this top layer of card. And I've still got some areas here that I know are not completely cut. So one of the options that I've got is actually turning the plate or the die on my plate. And that's what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to place the top back on here. I'm going to place my metal shim on and let's pass this back through the surface of our machine. Just make sure everything's lined up perfectly. And there, we're good to go. So now, the detail and the pressure will be applied in different places. And because we mentioned that your plates actually don't stretch, but it's almost like they get a little tiny bit thinner in places. Now, when I lift this off, the metal shim was over this area. So what we'll see is that this area has cut much, you can see, much deeper than the area here, which didn't have the shim. So I'm just going to place my shim on once more. And this time I'm going to put it on sideways so it covers the whole of the design and pass that back through. And it may mean that you have to pass it through 3 or 4, even more times. I've chosen one of the most detailed designs in the whole range so that I can show you the effects that you're going to get when you get these detailed dies. Let's have another little look and see whether we're happy with it. I'm getting really close, but this side still, I believe, needs one more pass. So this time I'm just going to hold the shim over the side that I think still needs that little bit of extra work. Pass this back in here. Now it doesn't matter which of the machines you're using, you'll get the same kind of effects with all of them. And often it isn't down to the machine, it's down to your plates. New plates don't need as many passes. And of course, the less detailed the dies, the less they're going to need as well. So I think we've now really gone through a maximum number of passes. I'm just going to move that out the way and let's have a little look. And you can see everything's already jumping out of its place. And if I tap it on the side, I can see that I've got everything there ready to be able to start to pop out. So just take your tweezers, push out all the little elements, and we're ready to go. One other little tip with detailed designs like this is to take a foam mat, and it actually helps you just press out elements of the design, but also you can turn it over, and just using the back of your fingernail or a pair of scissors, you can see how it starts to release the design. So these are both little tips that, depending on the design that you're working on, work perfectly and really help release the detail from design and dies like this. It's worth it, all the effort, because the designs are so beautiful that when you finish, the results are absolutely stunning. So these are the panels all pushed out. Now what's exciting is that I can use this piece on its own. I can use these pieces to frame the design inside. I can take those out very gently. Just caught this one, let me just get that piece. It's very delicate, let me get that out. And then I could put my panel in the centre, but because I've got a piece that's actually taken out from the inside, it gives me an extra frame and more colour showing through. I can actually add all of these together and rebuild the whole design so it looks like a complete lace panel, or I can actually use these elements and create them as corners or as a little block. So there are lots of different things you can do with your 3-in-1 dies, and the results are just simply stunning.